Hello again, fans of music, lovers of hard rock and heavy metal. This is your host again, Michael, with a second episode of Remnants of a Sound Blast. I'd like to talk a little bit about your musical heroes who you've met along the way. Give me some feedback and post comments below on who you've met, what you thought about them. Were they nice people? Were they not so nice? Were you disappointed? Anything you want to share about those people, I'd love to read about it. I have two interesting stories to tell, and every time I think about these two guys and just the whole situation on meeting them it's still mind-blowing to me. It's unbelievable. My first story goes back to 1997. I was actually working at a lumber warehouse called West Building Materials, which is no longer in existence, but got a call one day for sheetrock delivery, which I normally did not do sheetrock deliveries. I normally stayed at the property, but I took a ride with this other coworker because he needed help, and I did not know where we were going. But once we loaded up everything and we were on our way, it was a little short ride, maybe 10 minutes away from the job, and we pull up on Caffin Avenue, pull up in front of a house, and it has FD on the front, bright yellow and black letters. Well, guess what? It was Fats Domino's house, and I still didn't know it until he answered the door. I couldn't believe it. Knocked on the door. Door opens up. Little short fella, shorter than me even, answers the door. Sure enough, it was Fats Domino. I didn't get too excited about it. I didn't want to make a big deal in front of him because I really didn't know how he would be about that. So we were just there to do our job. We told him what we were there to do, deliver the sheetrock. He showed us where it wanted to go, and we started going to work. Once we got the sheetrock inside, it was a big long hallway we had to walk down, and all along the way, getting into this room where he wanted it to be, there were pictures on this hallway. I guess the hallway was maybe 30 foot long or so. Pictures everywhere. Him with Elvis Presley, with the Beatles, Little Richard, Ernie Cato, Jerry Lee Lewis, all the big time golden era rock and roll guys, right? Here I am in Fats Domino's house. So I started talking to him about music because, like I said in my previous episode, in my introduction episode, how much I was into music. I was just captivated by the whole music thing. And so at that point, I had a little bit of knowledge about some older bands and some older artists like, 50s and 60s guys and people like him that started it all. So I was talking to him about a few different things, and I guess he must have enjoyed what I had to say too. When we got done, before we left, he went into the kitchen and brought out a 6-pack of Old Milwaukee's Best. So guess what? We drank that whole 6-pack together. Him and I and the other guy that was with us. Most horrible beer you ever tasted in your life, but you want to know what? I didn't care. That was Fats Domino. And to make things even better, he had a beautiful grand piano set up in his front living room when we walked in. And he had about a 5-6 piece sparkle red drum set in the same room. Well, I just happened to be playing drums at the time. I wasn't like a pro, but I could get down pretty good on a set. I knew what I was doing a little bit, enough to know the songs that he was playing, and he started playing his tunes. I picked up those pair of sticks, and him and I played about 6 or 7 of his songs, probably about 30-40 minutes worth of music. It was unbelievable. I mean, I just cannot believe that I played music with this guy in his house and drank beer with him. When we left that job, I'm telling you, for the next week or two, I was just telling everybody that I knew what had happened to me. The only downside of it is this was before YouTube, cell phones with cameras and all of this stuff, so I really don't have any evidence of it other than the story itself. And I did bring along this to show you that I took off my wall in my living room. This was one of the pictures that he signed for me with Elvis. It says, "Best of luck." I actually had 3 pictures that he signed for me, and I lost 2 of them in Hurricane Katrina and broke my heart. And I don't know how this one survived. Obviously, it wasn't in the house that got damaged from the hurricane. It may have been the apartment that I had separate from the house when I was going to school for electrical work. So this picture got saved. So that's my only evidence of meeting him and the memory that I have, which is, like I said, how many people could tell you they met Fats Domino at his house and played music with him and drank beer all in the same day? Unbelievable, right? My second story is pretty much equally as cool, because this is definitely one of my top 5 musical heroes of all time. Definitely my favorite bass player. I don't know how many of you guys remember when JohnPaulJones did 2 solo albums in the late 90s, early 2000s. But he came to the House of Blues on March 14th, 2000. It's actually filmed, pro shot. You can find the whole video on YouTube of that night. I was there along with my brother and some other friends. And after the show was amazing, by the way. I don't want to forget about saying that. It was incredible. After the show, we waited out there, which must have seemed like hours, but we didn't care. And soon enough, well, I'll say soon enough, after about 2 or 3 hours, JohnPaulJones came out to a massive crowd waiting to meet him. He signed autographs graciously. He spent a lot of time talking to different people for what seemed 5-10 minutes apiece. I mean, it was just a very pleasant experience. I got my turn with him. We took some pictures. I shook his hand. He signed my ticket stub. I also brought 2 magazine covers from a magazine publisher called Zoso Magazine. Dave Lewis, who's a big Zeppelin fan, was the publisher and the writer for this magazine that came out of the UK. But I brought along 1 or 2 of those, and he looked at the cover and he's like, wow, I wonder how old I was right here. And I told him how old he was, because it was 1975, and he just couldn't believe that. And so I just talked to him for a few minutes and told him how much he meant to me and how great his bass playing was that night, and how he pretty much changed my life from a musical aspect. And he was very taken by what I told him, and I could see that he really felt it. So that meant a lot to me. I mean, the guy was a super sweet gentleman. And this is one of a few pictures that I took with him that night. This was, like I say, this was in 2000, so this was 22 years ago. Amazing, right? Here I am with JohnPaulJones. And same thing when I met him, afterwards, for a good week or 2, I was totally buzzing. I was just like, I cannot believe that I met this guy. It was so cool, because it's always great when you meet your musical heroes and they become more than you hope they would be on a personal level. It kind of puts a damper on things when they're not the person you hope they'd be. But in my 2 cases, those guys were super, super gentlemen, and I'm just happy to share those stories with y'all. If you have anybody that you've met that you'd like to share, please post in the comments below. I'd love to read about it. And until next time, I'm signing out. Y'all keep the music alive. Stay safe.